Then you told me this, and I will forever use this for the rest of my life, man.
Okay.
You said, James, you said, what's your favorite meal? Do you remember this?
I don't think so.
You said, what's your favorite meal?
Okay.
And I said, I don't know, steak and mashed potatoes. You're like, all right, from where? I was like, I don't know.
Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, I said Texas Roadhouse. You're like, cool. Can you picture that ribeye steak right now, sizzling with butter on it? I'm like, yes. Can you picture the mashed potatoes, with the gravy and all that? And I'm like, yeah. You're like, cool. So you know the ingredients and the optics and the feeling it takes right before you eat that meal. I said, yes. Mm-hmm. You're like, now if I were to throw that into a blender and give it to you as a smoothie, would you drink it? And I said, absolutely not. You said, why?
Welcome to The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship.
All right, Mr. Jeremiah, how's it going, man?
James, it's great. How are you?
Good. So the first question I want to ask, I just got to get this off my chest, is why are youth sports so fucked up?
Man, that's a great question. So I'm new to the game. Like I didn't do them growing up, right? So I just got them with my kids. I think if I had to give one answer, and I'm not sure if it's the best answer, but it's the first one in my mind, is too often we live vicariously through our kids.
Absolutely.
We treat them like how we would treat them a professional team.
Yep.
And but then we're build all this stuff. It's complicated. Youth sports are very complicated because we know that there's life lessons. We want our kids to have success, but we know there's life lessons in victory and defeat.
Yep.
You want justice, but that looks different to all of us, And then you have these just really bizarre organizations that I think are trying to do the right things, but it's just, there's not enough money or resources to make it right. And then you'll always get like some people that don't take it seriously enough or people that take it too seriously. And when you're trying to shoot the middle, it's just frustrating.
I feel like there's been this big shift of like overcomplication in like all aspects of the world. Like there's overcomplication into the economics of this country right now and real estate, and as far down as to like something as simple as like youth sports. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you go back to like the 60s, 70s, 80s, it's like you had sports, you had a few leagues. Yes, you paid to play in terms of registrations. Mm-hmm. You had hopefully good coaches, and the next generation of athletes were made from that, right? But then you talk to people, I'm 36. How old are you?
I'm 43.
43. But you talk to people from our era that did play youth sports. Like I played youth sports, and it was really simple. Like you joined one league, I had a set of coaches, I had my teammates, and to this day, like I still take those core principles with me.
Right.
And people are probably like, why are you starting this show off talking about youth sports? And it's because it's one commonality we now have. 10 years ago, we wouldn't have talked about this because we weren't dads in this season of life. And to me, I think it's like a status thing for parents. And I think it's a money grab for leagues, which goes into, again, the overcomplication of how humans in today's society make things.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, there's some nuances there, but I think I like your question of why would we open up this way? And as somebody trying to make my way in this world, it is interesting of how many thought cycles go to my kids' sports and not my business. Yeah. Right. How many thoughts, like how busy the calendar gets with all of this stuff. And I wouldn't have it any other way, mind you. Right. Like I love swim team. I love lacrosse. I love flag football. I love my kids doing all these things. But obviously if you're at swim practice, you're not working. Right. So I think it is, it's fun. I think we do tell ourselves narratives of like, this will help our kids or this will get them a leg up. It's probably isn't as true as we'd like it to be, And yeah, I mean, you and I have talked many times of like how much calories our kids' sports take. And I don't say that complaining at all, but it's just amazing.
Do you ever hold a sense of guilt on maybe how much mental bandwidth you spend thinking about, because you're a coach, you're highly involved in your kid's life, how much mental bandwidth you might be thinking about when it comes to your kids' life and activity versus maybe business? Because I struggle with that all the time. I'm a coach. I'm a proud coach. I'm a good coach. And I'll be breaking down like U8, U9 game film when really I should probably be prospecting for my freaking business, man.
Right, right. Yeah, guilt. I don't know if I would assign guilt. There's definitely times where I think I get out of whack one way or the other. I also know this is a season.
Yeah.
And this is a season I want to do really well with my kids.
Yeah.
Like my kid's 9. I don't know how long he'll play sports. I don't know if he'll be in the house another 8 years, 9 years, 12 years.
Yep.
But it's going to be short.
Yep.
And I don't want to neglect the work at all. I want to do the work. But how do you keep it in balance? And I think I know it's a tightrope. And kind of like so back to the sports metaphors, I tell my kids kind of, if you never get a penalty, you're probably not playing hard enough. Now, you don't need a lot of penalties, right?
Sure.
And I think it's the same thing with this, whether it's business or sports or being a father, being a father or a husband or a neighbor. You're going to fall off the rails. Like, hopefully not far, but you're going to get things wrong. But I think that means you're trying really hard.
Totally.
So guilt, I don't know if it's guilt, but there's definitely moments I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is obsessive. But I'm that personality. Like, if it's work, I also get really obsessive about work, right? And it's really easy for me to forget everything else. So I just kind of know that's what I am.
I like that. If you never get a penalty, you're probably not playing hard enough. And actually, exactly where I wanted this podcast to go, we're going there. So there's a guy that we've had on the show twice now. He reminds me a lot of our friend John Miller, but like a more intense version.
Okay. John's not intense.
Yeah. So his name's Rocky Garza, and he talks about work-life balance. And he said, screw that phrase and talk about it's work-life contention. So it's like a rope that you're always like one side's pulling, right? And you just have to figure out what side should be pulling stronger at that moment. When you hear work-life contention, I guess what comes to your mind?
It's probably not a frame-up that I would personally use, but I've built my life a lot differently than others, right? Like, I've built my life to where I can pick my kids up from school most days, right? Like, I try to make them all work together as much as possible, knowing that they don't. But yeah, so work-life contention, if I were to play with that, it's like, yeah, everything wants all of you.
Yeah.
And all of you isn't enough for anything.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I could put all of myself into my business and it wouldn't be enough. I could put all myself into my kids, or all of myself into my relationship with my wife, all of myself in my relationship with you. It wouldn't be enough. So you're trying to find a way to make this all work, knowing that it can't.
Exactly. That's why I think the statement all or nothing is actually like a very falsified and dangerous statement. I hear that in entrepreneurship a lot, like go all in, burn the boats. That, and as a young entrepreneur, I really craved that.
You don't have a family, you can do it.
Yeah, type of talk. But now I think maybe years in, I'm like, I don't know if burning the boats is a good idea. I don't know if, all or nothing and the alternative being nothing is a good idea. So it's just kind of funny, that evolution of where you're at in business versus a decade ago.
We do like to break things apart in black and white. It's rarely black and white. And it is hilarious to me to hear to young salespeople or young entrepreneurs just how much energy that they have. And that's cool. Like, I miss that, honestly.
Yeah,
I miss it.
Totally.
Like, but also you're like, dude, it's not what you think it is. It's just not. You know? Like, the whole world isn't selling a product. Like,
or buying one.
For sure. Like it's an endless cycle that's not fulfilling, right? There's always another deal to sell. There's always more money to be made. There's always stuff to buy. There's never enough. And we all are victims of that. I mean, even now, like the things I find myself thinking about, like, oh, I want a new car, or I want this, or I want that. Well, why? Like, and all throughout human history, like we're some of the most prosperous people that have ever existed. Like the luxury we live in, and we complain about the size of our homes or our traffic. Like we're really warm in the winter and we're really cool in the summer, and there's never an issue of eating.
That's right.
Know?
Yeah, exactly. Another quote. Okay. I guess I'm just bashing on these like testaments of time. Like I got to put food on the table, like that mentality.
Yeah.
I used to say that all the time. Right. And it's like, no, really, I'm hustling now for like, oh, I need to have more investment in my 401k account. Right. Or like, it's just so funny how you are right. We're living in the best times that this world has ever seen, even though we can think it's all messed up. But if we take a step back, is it really that bad?
Right.
Like I have the world on my phone.
Right.
If I wanted to, I can look up whoever I need to look up.
Right.
What's up, Profitable Cleaner listeners? Quick question for you. Are you using 5 to 7 different platforms just to manage the everyday operations of your commercial cleaning company? If so, let us help you consolidate that into one platform. Introducing you uSource. Go to usource.com, book your free demo today, and actually get started on your trial for 60 days. No charge for 60 days, all from time and attendance to reporting, vendor management, operations, sales. It's time you stop using 5 to 7 platforms and consolidate into one. So listeners, don't forget, go to usource.com and start your account today.
I want to tell you a few things that you've taught me over the years.
Okay.
This is going to be funny.
This is exciting.
Yeah, this is going to be funny. So for those listening that don't know, I've known Jeremiah now. Jeez, man.
Over 10, 12?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Over 10.
15?
I think we're probably in between that 12 to 15 mark.
Okay.
We met originally back in the day when I actually had a job at Morris Animal Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
And you did the Jimmy Kimmel Most Interesting Man in the World campaigns.
Yeah.
And I was the marketing person on those. And I remember thinking, man, this guy has his bit. I remember you charged Morris Animal Foundation, hopefully you don't kill me for putting this out there, $15,000.
Okay. Was that the number?
I remember that's the number I had to like approve in the boardroom, for lack of better words. It was 15 grand. I was like, holy shit, this guy's charging us $15,000. How does he do that? Right? How does he do that? And then I was like, wait, he's got to do that a lot to make this make sense.
Right.
Right. And I was like, so how does he do that?
Right.
Like, how does he find someone willing to pay him $15,000 for a video shoot? Right. And I remember thinking like, man, this is crazy, but also admirable and respectable. And then I got into business a few years later and we started talking. And I remember I was like 26. So I guess this was 10 years ago. I was 26 at the time. And you told me, James, there's a big difference between being 26 and like 32. And I was like, what the fuck does this guy know? I'm 26. I have a business. I have a house. I wasn't yet a father. You were, I don't know if you were a father yet, but you were definitely married and more established than I was.
We were
in
trying
life.
to have kids at that time, if not pregnant.
And I was like, what is he talking about? And now I use this analogy with my own staff. Hey, to 26-year-olds, I'm like, there's a big difference between being 26 and 36. And it's hard to understand until you're just there.
It's massive.
So I remember you telling me that and me being mad, and I was mad probably because it was true. And you didn't say it in a bad way.
No.
But then you told me this, and I will forever use this for the rest of my life, man.
Okay.
You said, James, you said, what's your favorite meal? Do you remember this?
I don't think so.
You said, what's your favorite meal?
Okay.
And I said, I don't know, steak and mashed potatoes. You're like, all right, from where? I was like, I don't know.
Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, I said Texas Roadhouse. You're like, cool. Can you picture that ribeye steak right now, sizzling with butter on it? I'm like, yes. Can you picture the mashed potatoes, with the gravy and all that? And I'm like, yeah. You're like, cool. So you know the ingredients and the optics and the feeling it takes right before you eat that meal. I said, yes. You're like, now if I were to throw that into a blender and give it to you as a smoothie, would you drink it? And I said, absolutely not. You said, why? I said, well, that's just not how you have that meal.
Right.
And you're like, but the ingredients are the same.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you're like, James, you have the ingredients, but you haven't put it together as a plate. And I was like, damn. And you were talking about my former business, Go Edison, at the time. And I was like, he 100% is the truth. So now I use that with other young business owners.
Right.
And sometimes I have to ask myself, do we have the ingredients, but they're in a blender?
Right.
So
it's easy to put them in the blender.
So
it's so easy.
I guess thank you for that. I've never told
I can't take credit for that thought. That's a mentor of mine taught me that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not mine. A guy named Bob Krulish, like one of the best humans I've ever met in my life, taught me that. And because it's applicable in many ways, right? The idea is us on an interpersonal level, like as we're raising our kids or as we're like, even if you're highly competent or whatever, are you preparing it properly, right? And then our businesses, but also then even the micro, where I do tend to use it in, since I'm in marketing, of like, you have all these ingredients, but so oftentimes people are just putting their messages in a blender and like here, and especially now with the way content is and algorithms like it, it's just this funnel of smoothie of steak. And it's like, that's really good. And it kind of moves the needle, but I think that we've forgotten presentation and we've forgotten what happens when somebody brings a meal out on a plate that you love.
Yeah. That's I think that's fitting for you because you're also a food guy.
I love food. Yeah. There's not as much time for it now, but yeah.
But like you like food, you appreciate the cooking of it and all of that. And then if you apply that to like your professional world, like the presentation's important, but the game has kind of changed.
It's changed a lot.
And so for those listening, you obviously have a background in cinematography, storytelling, marketing, all of those different realms. And I'm sure much more I didn't mention there. What do you think the game is today when it comes to content creation?
Yeah,
especially B2B content.
B2B. Man, I don't even know. Like, right? Like, I get what we're told what it is, but I don't see it working that well. Like, we have these platforms of like LinkedIn, and there's this algorithm, and everybody's like, you got to be on LinkedIn. You got to be feeding the content monster. And then I think we do that, but we do that in a way that we run the treadmill and we're not actually putting pieces forth that move the needle. Like, it's funny when you dig into people or dig into clients, like, so what's the analytics on this stuff? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you actually, and I don't think we should fall into the trap of like, there needs to be a ROI on every social media post or every piece of content we put out. Cause I do think there is just brand awareness. I know it's a dirty word, but I think it's a real thing. Right?
Yeah. Oh, totally is.
So what is the game now? I think you get three things happening. One, you get the people that do it really, really well, right? They know what their brand is and they know how to tell that story well. And that doesn't necessarily, that could be a cell phone video. That could be just writing content. Right. Then you get people that are in the hamster wheel and they are just trying to fill the content calendar, but they might be using somebody that doesn't understand their brand or AI in not a great way. That's a tool you can use good or in a poor fashion. And you can tell pretty quickly. And then you get the people that just kind of are overwhelmed. They tend to probably be a little bit more of young boomers, old Gen Xers, and they're not touching it, which it's like, I get it. I'm not saying it's the worst call, but I do think you're missing out. So I don't know if that fully answered your question. I think that's maybe just painting the landscape.
Yeah, totally.
Of where it is for a business, not necessarily a company that creates it, but for the market. Yeah.
So where do you think, like in an ideal world where for a business owner listening to this, I mean, here's what I see. And then I'm going to ask the question is, I see a lot of facility service companies just putting out content because that's what they are told what should do or what they should do. And you can do it easily on Canva. You can do it from your cell phone. And there's no real rhyme or reason. And if I were to guess, they probably don't know how it moves the needle in their business. So I think that's what's happening now, especially in blue collar workforce marketing. How, in your viewpoint, someone who is like a professional and a really good creator, what do you think a company, especially a non-sexy company, should be doing for content?
Right. So, I mean, a non-sexy company, AKA companies that actually are the backbone of the country.
Yeah.
Right. Like my best clients, the clients that I love are like, they're just very perfunctory.
Yeah.
Like businesses.
Like an OEL.
An OEL. Fantastic company. Like I would like, I wish.
Who is OEL? Like,
So OEL is, they're an electrical safety company. I learned PPE before COVID, right? Because of working with OEL. They make like, they almost look like bomb suits, right? Like it's almost like Hurt Locker, but it's for like these big electrical, they call them arc flash incidences. Something that you've never heard of, right? The average Joe. And it's a good business, and like they're great. They're amazing people. Like they care about their product. It's American made. It's some of the best product out there. I mean, obviously it's top shelf. Is it the only one? No, of course not. I love working with those guys, right? Like, would it be fun to work for Audi or something? I'm sure it would be. I also understand that's not in the cards for me. So back to the recommendation of what would a blue collar business, what would I recommend? The first thing is authenticity, right? I think especially in this AI generation that we're seeing of all this content coming out, it may be great content, but if it's not authentic, if I'm actually getting to know you or some essence of your business, why would I work with you? And I think what clearly helps businesses stand out is being authentic. And I'm not saying you have to go tell your life story or anything like that, but like, who are you? What are you? Because that's going to help select your clientele. Like your vibe attracts your tribe. Make sure your vibe is real, right? So if you're some plumber that drives around in a Ford Transit van, don't show that you're anything but that, because that's great. That might be exactly what I'm looking for, right? So authenticity, consistency, and understand your core message and say it over and over again and over and over again. Like the Zig Ziglar line, tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Right? Like over and over again, like you are a plumber that specializes in cleaned out drains. Cool. Or you're a plumber that specializes in working with elderly folks.
Totally.
Or, I mean, it just find your thing that you like and just be consistent about it. Now, what's going to happen the next phase is it's going to become overwhelming, right? That's where you need to find a partner, whether it's an intern inside your company, somebody like myself, to help you so it's not overwhelming, and figure out a way to get that content created that doesn't actually hurt your business, but helps it.
Yeah, and it also allows you to be more consistent. Like we always say, do what you do best and delegate the rest. There is a point to where like you have to delegate your content creation and your marketing.
Right.
And honestly, just you're almost delegating like your ideas too. Like bringing in a fresh set of eyes, whether that's through like someone like you, an intern, a virtual assistant, just to manage it so you are consistent, and obviously hopefully it's done with quality. It's a huge factor. Man, I like what you said, that Zig Ziglar quote. You said tell them
what you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
Yeah, that's so funny. I'm probably going to get canceled for saying this, but the thing that comes to my mind is like literally Trump, make America great again.
For sure.
It's like, I mean, that's exactly what
you
that
can love him,
does.
hate him, anything in between. The dude knows how to get headlines.
No doubt. And
like, it's a thing that he can do.
And it's like, if it's funny, before Donald Trump was Trump, the president, and all the controversy around him, I read his book back in 2014,
The Art of the Deal.
The Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
And if you look at The Art of the Deal and actually read that book, that's exactly what he says. It's just like, hit them with one simple message, time and time again, and like, don't stop.
Right.
And he has like, this isn't verbatim, but he's like, be obnoxious, be obnoxious about it.
Right.
Like that's literally been the Trump empire's marketing strategy.
For sure.
But then you can also look at someone less controversial, like a Nike, just do it.
Right.
They've done it eloquently. They've done it very commercial. They've done it probably obnoxiously, you know, and so there is something to that.
Yeah, we try to overcomplicate things. I try to overcomplicate things. I fall victim of it in my business, right? I mean, because my business is, you could very much say the cobbler's kids have no shoes, right? Like, it is funny, like, you create content for people, but yet it's really hard to create content for myself.
That's funny.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a big challenge. But ultimately, you know, going back to the idea of be authentic, be consistent. I've had the privilege, I guess I would call it, of working for small one-man startups to companies well into 8 figures of revenue, right? And I will say the thing that is interesting a company like OEL, like, they've grown exponentially since we've started working together. I think, I'm not saying because of our work, but our work was a part of that process,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And I've watched more decisions be just handed over to us.
Yeah.
Right? More conversations. They're always a part of the conversation. I love partnership, but be handed over to us. I've seen businesses that tend to just really clamp and over control in anything. There are the ones that struggle to grow. Because I think that you're only one person, you can only do so much, and done's better than perfect, which I think as a business owner, there's 2 types. There's those type of myself that I hate that, but there's the type that like grow and they're like, yeah, we got it done. We don't care. And you're like, oh, that worked.
I live and die on that phrase, done's better than perfect. And I will tell my team that time and time again. And then, like, ask for forgiveness versus permission. Like, just go out there,
Struggle with that one.
And then, the mentality of, like, fail fast. We're going to fail 10 times, but if we get it, and we're going to fail quickly 10 times to hopefully get to that 11th at bat.
Right.
And that's when the hit comes.
For sure. For sure.
I'm definitely in that mold right now of, like, failing fast.
What's up, my profitable cleaners? Listen, you guys know that running a cleaning business isn't just about cleaning. It's about growth, trust, building a legacy, and making true impact. That's where Swept comes in. With Swept, it's simple, powerful. It's an app that you can track your cleaner attendance with geofence clock-ins, streamlined processes, team communication, and save hours on payroll. It's the ultimate tool designed specifically for janitorial businesses just like yours. Take control, save time, focus on what matters most, growing your business and spending time with your family. Swept. Clean better, grow faster. If you guys are interested in Swept, click the link below in the show notes and partner with one of the best in the industry.
Give me an example of failing fast, either in the positive or negative.
All right.
Something.
So yeah, one of my companies, Power Placing, we're most known for, thanks to this podcast, servicing janitorial companies. Janitorial is awesome. It's been awesome for us and to us, but we've organically got some outside traction in other areas like real estate, legal. And it's like, okay, let's go ahead and double down on that now. So trying to break new verticals with new sales strategies. And when you're investing in a sales strategy, like we're investing in a full-time salesperson, that's a payroll.
Yeah.
If it's not producing, we're investing in new time and resources into tactics that maybe it worked in janitorial and it's not working in real estate.
Right.
And it feels like you're just bumping your head. But it's like, we know that, like, if we just keep chopping wood, that tree falls, but try to get, like, your axe unstuck out of the tree and go again.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I like that.
It's just the fail fast mentality, but try to do it, like, not from a shotgun approach. Like, you hit with intention, pull back with might, hit again. Like,
right. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's true it's at least true for me because my mind gets just stuck in efficiency mode. But the idea of, like, a lot of things in life, whether it's parenting or business or marketing or just go down the list, it's more of a baseball batting average.
Yeah.
Like, if you can get 0.3, like if 0.3 of your ideas are good, or 0.3 of your marketing strategies hit, or 0.3 of your sales calls hit, you're phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you can just really get any measure of success from these things. But I like how you said, like, get that 11th off on bat, because that might be where you hit the home run.
That's right.
Like, and let's not be stupid, right? Like, we're not saying, like, hey, go start your 17th business when you've bankrupted
for sure
16.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking about that, but just get at bat.
Well, I think it comes down to me like as simple as, so how I think this muscle was developed in me. I should have brought this up with our good friend John Miller, because he really maybe 10 years ago latched on this idea. But have you ever heard of the James Altucher idea strategy?
This rings a bell, but unpack it for me.
So basically, and if anyone's listening to this, I recommend it. And actually now I'm speaking out loud. I need to get back to it. Write down 10 ideas a day.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And it could be like, hey, it could be a grand business idea, or it could be like, bring my wife flowers.
Right.
Right. Start writing down 10 ideas a day. Sounds really simple, but when you get to that 6th or 7th idea, you're going to have to think about what an idea is at 6 or 7. It's inevitable.
Right.
Like if I were to ask you for 10 random ideas right now, it'd actually be harder than you think.
Yeah. First 3 easy, then exponentially harder. Yeah.
Exactly. So the thought of it is you're building an idea muscle. Your brain's a muscle. And I can't remember the neuroscience terminology for it, but there's a muscle inside your brain that generates curiosity, learning, and ideas. And it's like you do that every day for 6 months, that muscle is going to become stronger, and you're going to notice ideas start to flow a little bit better. And 99.7% of those ideas are going to be absolutely horrible, but there's going to be 0.3% of them that are really gold, or you're going to attribute some sort of breakthrough to something in your life.
Right.
Due to just you writing down, and don't type it down. Literally, there's something about pen to paper,
writing it down.
And I attribute that idea strategy to like my first success in business.
Really?
I was not making money until that happened. Like, and then I was like, and here's what will really trip you out. I have ideas from like 2015 of working with like, I need to reach out to like partner with INCITE Productions, let's say. And let's say I didn't even know you.
Right.
2015, that partnership somehow comes to fruition in 2022.
Right.
And it's like, what just happened?
Right.
I didn't even know that business owner's name, but I knew that they were a business. I said, do a white label partnership with my current company. I no longer have that current company. 7 years later, I'm doing business with that company somehow. So then you can relate that. Is that manifesting?
Right.
Is that God?
Right.
Is that fucking idea muscle?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think we've all had experienced that idea of, mental energy is bizarre how it works. and if you can build up the right kind of mental energy, I can say that there's been clients that I've seen, same thing. Like, I want to work with that company or that person.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, they did. Like, how did that happen?
Do you believe in like manifestation?
I don't.
Really?
No, I don't.
Who did you think you were going to marry before you met your wife?
Oh gosh, I would not. If you looked at the type of person that I thought I'd marry and who I dated prior to my wife, they were nothing like my wife. And also that's why they were all exes, right? Like, my wife is amazing. The weirdest thing.
But like quality wise, So like Lori, your wife, possesses all the qualities you want, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on the when you would have asked me, right?
Yeah.
I always thought that I would be the least, because I'm a pretty introverted person.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be the more introverted in the couple, and in our relationship, I'm the more extroverted.
Really?
And the things that she's so good at, I don't know if I would have ever listed, and they are so amazing.
Totally.
Right? Like, I think I was too dumb to understand what I wanted. The weirdest story about my wife, though, is I remember I saw her. We knew each other from a few contexts, and we saw each other at this church that we were attending at the time. And like, hey, I know you, you know me, this type of thing, right? And I remember I just felt this weird, compelling thing to pray for her future husband. I had no idea I was praying for me, right? Isn't that weird?
No, not at all, man.
Like, but
not at all.
So I think that there's definitely an overtone to a lot of our lives. I mean,
so do you attribute that to God then?
I think there's components of it, but also I think that there is this weird thing of just mental energy, right? Like, if I start thinking about something, I'm probably going to put pieces in place to make it happen. Just subtly.
But you don't think that's manifestation then?
I think it's building.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Dude, I have
we might just be in a language holdup here. But
yeah.
I guess I hear people talk about that and it gets pretty woo-woo pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think that like I have a pastor friend and he says this thing that I think keeps me it's a nice metric of he says, are you treating God like a cosmic vending machine?
Yeah, totally.
Right. And I think manifest destiny is too similar to treating God like a cosmic vending machine, which he's not.
Oh man, that's a good way to That's a good way to look at it. So I actually do believe in manifestation. Obviously I believe in God, but I also, I guess ultimately I believe everything happens because of God. Mm-hmm. So, but I believe maybe mental energy, there's a good word somewhere in here, has to be a connection, because I think we're saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. I knew who my wife was 2 years before she knew me. My friend was on a softball team.
Okay.
And I was actually in a relationship at the time. And Wednesday nights, my girlfriend at the time worked.
Okay.
And so like I had Wednesday nights off, right? Because she
had to go do her thing.
Yeah, she had to go work. She was like a waitress or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I would just hang out with my buddy. I'd go like watch him play softball.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember I wasn't even like physically it wasn't like, oh, there's my wife, I'm physically attracted to her. But I remember like watching her like warm up and like swing the bat. And I was like, oh, I wonder what her name is. I wonder what she does for a living. And then I kind of like went into this like daydreaming state, right? I was like, I bet she would be a good wife. I bet she'd be a really good mother. I wonder what my life would look like if I lived with her versus my current girlfriend. Right?
Oh,
like,
we're getting dangerous now. Yeah.
I went like down this route and then I boom, I snapped out of it back to reality, right? Well, 2 years later, I'm single now in a way different spot in life. And my buddy calls me to be a sub for the season on that softball team.
Okay.
So that's how I met my wife.
Oh,
so
wow.
I always say like, hey, I fell in love with you before I even knew your name.
Right.
I envisioned a life with you.
That's so wild.
And then you're telling me that you prayed for the future husband of your wife. Dude, that's insane, man.
It is. There's definitely I think
there's nothing logical that explains that.
Right. I agree with that. And I also think we are subservient to it and we don't control it.
100%.
Right? Like
there you go. And that's where the manifestation gurus get it wrong.
Yeah.
Like look at this $100 bill every day.
Right.
And imagine that it's yours.
Right.
Times 1,000.
Right.
And that will come to you.
Right.
I agree with that because I tried that for a long time.
Yeah.
Like literally like almost felt like I was white knuckling destiny that didn't even come close to happening.
Right.
But like I sold my first business, Go Edison, and I had this feeling like I think I could sell this. I don't know how, what, when, or any of that.
Right.
But like I thought about it for like 2 years before it actually happened. Then when it happened like boom.
So here's the question that I have. Because there's definitely something going on here. But when those things happen, do they ever happen the way that you think they would happen?
No. And I heard a good pastor on YouTube, I don't remember his name, say something. When you pray for an end result, which is complicated, maybe even controversial, but when you pray for an outcome, don't expect it to be what it is because it will take longer than expected. It will be different than expected, but it will be better.
That third one is actually where I was going because the thing is, I would say nothing in my life has taken shape the way that I thought it would. But I think the end result is almost categorically better than it would have been.
Oh, for sure.
Like there's pain, there's frustration, right? I'm not saying that life is a perfectly golden path. It's not, right? But I look at so many of the things that I have and I'm like, I couldn't have imagined this.
No doubt.
This is so much better than what I could have imagined.
Dude, 100%.
All right. I know you guys are wondering, how can we keep our cleaning crews engaged and informed and it doesn't have to feel like a struggle? With Team Engine, you can now automate messages, update teams in real time, and bridge language gaps with their built-in AI-powered translations. Whether it's scheduling, last-minute changes, or sharing critical updates, Team Engine keeps your workforce connected and productive. Say goodbye to miscommunication and hello to smoother operations. Visit teamengine.io to get started today.
Actually, if you're listening to this as a business owner, think about this in terms of your business. I used to think, this is like 2014. I was like, if I could make $100,000 in 1 year.
It's a different amount of money than it is now.
For sure. But I mean, dude, I wasn't even thinking like that. I was like, if I could, my Super Bowl win would be make $100,000 in 1 year, my own money, not working for someone,
Right.
make my own schedule, work with people I want to work with, and have the ability, if I want, to take every Friday off. God, whatever, whoever, I will have made it.
Right.
And it was like, man, what small thinking, because I achieved that pretty quickly after. And it wasn't easy, don't get me wrong.
Right.
And if I don't work my ass off today, I won't have that tomorrow.
Right.
But like, I remember thinking like, if I could achieve that by the time I'm like 55, and I was like 25 at the time, or whatever,
Right.
So like when I look back at my business, I'm always like, I appreciate looking at the, I do like to reflect every a few times a year on where I was 5 years ago.
So if I were to say, James, what are 2, 3, 4 of sound bites, answers to questions that you've learned over the past 18 months in business?
18 months, what I've learned from a business perspective, the importance of actually knowing your financial numbers.
Okay.
It's going to sound so stupid, but I would just look at money in versus money out. Oh, there's the money. That's how much we have or I have.
Revenue versus spend.
Revenue versus spend. But as my team grew to 53 people last year, and that payroll was scary. So that forced me to learn the importance of cash flow, which made me learn the hard lesson of knowing that your spend typically doesn't come from one big thing. It's an accumulation of 100 little things that are a big thing,
right?
For cash flow.
Makes sense.
So I learned the importance of cash flow. I've also learned the increased sense of responsibility of payroll and how many people that impacts.
Right.
I've always made payroll. I've never missed payroll.
Right.
But it had me stressed out for the first time.
Yeah.
Prior to 18 months ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, I understand the importance of payroll.
Right.
But I didn't really understand it when you had $60,000 coming up.
Right.
And you have $50,000 in the bank.
Right.
And then $50,000 of accounts receivable out there.
Right.
And you have 7 days to get it.
Right.
So, and the other thing I learned is the importance of, I've sat in the seat and talked to a lot of people about leadership and culture. Hell yeah, culture is important. You need to be aligned. You need to invest in leadership. I'd say all this stuff, and actually mean it at the time in agreement.
Right.
But until I had a team of like 25 plus people, I didn't really realize how important this stuff actually meant.
Right.
So when I'm sitting across from an Ernesto Moreno who manages 250 people, and he's paying tens of thousands of dollars for leadership coaches, which I'd be like, I'd never do.
Right.
Well, I see why he's doing it now.
Right.
Because he's got 25 managers.
Right.
That manage each 10, 15 people.
Now you do it a little bit wrong. That multiplication factor throughout that ecosystem is massive. Exactly.
So like I really realized the importance the last 18 months of like doubling down on leadership and being intentional with culture. It's really hard to get that when you're less than 10 people. And then just also realizing, I think the last thing, the importance, there's two big things in business. It's sales and staffing.
Okay.
And I'm going to say staffing because staffing is my business's form of execution. And if you're a janitorial client listening to this, they definitely relate to like the labor pool. So like always be selling, but always be recruiting is a real thing. Okay. And I didn't really I heard that a lot on this show. I didn't really understand it until now, where it's like, if we go sell 20-person account, I need to have 60 people to interview.
Right.
So behavior comes before success.
Right.
What behavior are we actually doing to prepare for a 20-person account? A year ago, 18 months ago, we weren't doing shit.
Right.
So you have to be doing, so like we're always recruiting just like we're always selling.
Okay.
And they need to be in tandem. What about you?
18 months in business. I don't know. The last 18 months of my business has been just a roller coaster, right? Like we went through a 6-month acquisition process that kind of got fumbled at the 1 yard line.
That is right.
And that was painful.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't malice by anybody. It just kind of was what happened, but it was painful.
Yeah.
And we can go all there are a lot of details that we don't necessarily need to go into why. And then that it definitely was off the table a little over a year ago. So it was like 6-7 month process. And then since then it was just a little bit of like, well, what now? Right. Cause there was this whole other thing. There's a lot of stuff that was laid out that just also just evaporated in what felt like a moment. The industry is very different, right?
Yeah.
Very different than it was. I said that INCITE was kind of like the company that you could get 80% of a major ad agency's work for a lot less than 80% of the dollars. But the way the industry's gone is all that like lower end work. I think people are just, not all of it, a lot of lower end work people are just creating themselves. Now I think that I'm hopeful that people will realize that's just a lot of burden, but we just have to apply the efficiencies in the industry on us, right? Like we need to start using the tools better that are out there that our clients are using just to, the days of having 15-person crews, 10-person crews, those are probably few and far between now. We have to be leaner and hit harder. So learning just that mechanic, right? I think also just learn just the gratitude of where I'm at, right? Like there's days where, I do get to go be an assistant coach for my kids' lacrosse team. Yeah. Right. And I wouldn't have had my business sold, Totally. Like that wouldn't have, because I would have been this other thing. Yep. And that's fun to realize. There's been some wins of where we've done some projects that have just performed really well. Yeah. Like that's been very cool. And I approach them far differently than I would have 18 months ago. Yeah. Right. Just because of the way the market is and how you attack this and where the needs are and how you have to just provide more assets for people. Right. It used to be just a video production company. Then we did videos and photos, but now it's a video production company where we give you long-term content, long-form content, short-form content. But this content is designed specifically for LinkedIn, is where this is designed specifically for YouTube. This is designed specifically for Instagram. Like the core of it's the same, but how we format it and the things that we pull out of it are different. So probably a muddy answer, but how to probably be more efficient and more appreciative for what I have. And also just optimistic, right? Because I think that same thing like that we're talking about, whether it's manifest destiny or your vibe attracts your tribe. Like if you're a gloomy person, like this sucks. Yeah, totally. You're going to find out it sucks. Yeah. If you're a person that's like, I think we can figure this out. Yeah. I think we're optimistic. Like I think we can do this. Like, you start to find those people that you're surrounded with. Well, you got to make the choice if you go through life. I think that's well said. Like, do I want to approach this optimistically or pessimistically? It's so that is black and white. And it's like people 10 out of 10 times want you to approach things honestly with optimism though. Yeah, that's well said. I'm going to steal that. And some of the honesty can be critical, but it's not like you're a piece of shit. Right. Or there's no way forward. Right. I always believe there is a way forward. I mean, I've seen clients of mine, people, I've heard stories from people on the show. They have moved objects that felt unmovable and they found a way. So it's like, oh, can I find a way to figure out where to find my next deal? Yeah. Absolutely. Always. Or you could be sad about it. So I do think that there's a truth to like, maybe that's maturity. Just, I used to get so pissed off and blame economy, clients, whatever. And it's like, no, there's some truth to just it's also the difference between 26 and 36. There you go. Right. Like there's a difference. Absolutely. I also think the truth is like a knife, right? And think of a nice, big, sharp chef's knife. I love chef's knives.
Yeah.
I may or may not collect chef's knives, right? Let's say like a nice 9-inch European chef's knife. If I'm handing you this tool, this truth, pointing, like this is a problem, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt you with this thing.
No doubt.
If I hand it to you properly and explain to you what this is and what we're doing with it, it's a tool that can change your life.
Exactly.
Right? And that's on us
That's good.
as we handle the truth to hold that. No, on my worst days, I kind of stab you.
Yeah.
Right? Like because
Yeah.
I'm mad or I'm just not myself or I'm just cranky. But if we can hand over the truth properly, it's a great tool. And we have to, right? Because there are things that I can see in you that only I can see.
Yeah.
There's things that you can see in me that only you can see. And we do each other a disservice if we don't hand that information back and forth.
That's really well said, man. Well, I'm going to end the show on opposite note of how I started it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are youth sports so needed in society today?
Gosh, I mean, that's a podcast,
Yeah.
right? Youth sports. My story is my wife or I didn't play sports. We didn't think our kids would be athletes. I had my kid in swim and gymnastics because like my kid didn't seem that coordinated, and I wanted him to be able to like not fall over, right? A certain coach, Coach Bo, your lifesaver, got a hold of my kid and he just exploded. And then it gave him all this confidence. There's all these hard lessons you can learn in sports of, both of our oldest kids lost their championships this weekend.
Yeah, they
right?
did. Yep.
There's lessons, there's pain. The life's painful, right? I also think in the way our school systems are today, like a lot of these hard lessons have kind of, I think, been, not to get political, but kind of nerfed. Like,
Totally.
like, are you passing or failing? It's even hard to understand.
Exactly.
Right? Sports, it's very clear. Right? You either won or lost. You either did what you're supposed to do and you didn't. And also, guess what? You're still awesome, even if you lost.
Yeah.
Even if you messed up the play, even if you didn't do what you're supposed to do. But I think it's knowing where you're at. Right.
Yeah.
And then also learning to work with people that you may not like.
Yep.
Right. Like your teammates aren't going to always be your best friends. More often than not, they're not going to be.
Totally.
But you can go succeed. So I think it gives this little laboratory of life experiments that it's uniquely suited for. I mean, the thing that I started to think about a lot with youth sports is being in video production. I interview people like this a lot. I'm not necessarily on camera, but I interview a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I've got the blessing to interview some pretty cool people, like high up in companies, CEO, C-suite type folks, high-end sales folks, engineers, whatever. Massively successful people, the correlation between them playing high school sports is high, and D1 is really high.
Totally.
It's really high. And there's a current guy that I know that was a D1 athlete, and he works for a company. They actually look for D1 athletes. They go after them.
I believe it.
We know that if you can handle that life, you can handle this job.
Yep.
Right. So I think why are they needed? Because there's a high degree of correlation of people that play them that have success. And I'm not talking like they're on to the NFL or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking learn how to work with people, learn how to receive coaching. That's another thing that's great of like, as we were just talking about with truth, like receiving truth sucks.
Totally.
It sucks.
Have to do it.
But when I think you've been coached your whole life, hey, James, you're always dropping your arm when you're throwing. You're not raising your elbow enough.
Yeah.
And if you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to raise my elbow, you're going to be better pitcher,
1000%.
whatever, right?
Yep.
And I think that it teaches you that ability. And I'm kind of sad I didn't get to learn that because I think I would be farther down the road if I would have played youth sports. And I'm not even talking about, forget about the success of the game.
For sure.
I'm not even talking about that. That's fun for sure, but that's not the point.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Youth sports shaped literally who I am as a person. And it's great because I remember I was like 4 or 5 years old playing, or no, I was probably first, second grade was when I first got introduced to soccer.
Okay.
And I was fortunate enough to play with the same soccer team from basically second grade up until 8th grade. Same core group,
That's
same
awesome.
coaches. And the amount of games we lost, I can count on one hand over the years. We were a good team. But my coaches were so good. And I remember my mom's a complicated person, but one thing she did right, I didn't score my first goal until my very last game of my first season.
Okay.
And I remember trying so hard. Finally, it happened. And I still remember the field and what happened on it. So a second grader. My mom, after every single game, though, she would lie to me. And I know she told me this later on, but at the time I didn't know she was lying. She's like, hey, when you were running down that sideline, the other parents were saying, man, how is that kid so fast? When you got that ball, they were saying, how can he do that with the ball? Right. So she instilled this confidence to where every time I touched the ball, I felt like I was the best. Right.
Right.
But then on the other side of it, my coaches, I mean, we would win games in an absurd amount. And if that team won the next week that we beat, they would say we didn't play them hard enough because we weren't physical enough with them. So in one sense, I had this confidence of like, I'm the best player on any field, anytime, regardless of size. And size doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't really matter as much in a sport like soccer. But then on my coach's side, it was like, you guys, if you want to be the best, you are so far from it, although we were.
Right.
So it was like this healthy balance of,
you have to have that.
like, there was no extremism.
Totally.
Like, we never believed we were the best, but I also believed I was the best.
Yeah, you need that ability to. It's something that I've seen in youth sports. I am such a practical black and white person. It's like, I would never tell you you're the best because you're not the best.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But if me telling you the best makes you better, isn't it worth me telling you you're the best? Right. And it's like that where there's actually a joke I just heard about like how our brains, a comedian, John Christ, one of them ran this joke of like how our brains are dumb, right? Like the same brain is like, just tell yourself to be positive and then you do it and you feel better. But it's like, you kind of know you're lying to yourself,
yeah, totally.
But it works. It works within reason, right? So no, I think youth sports so far great. They teach you that you are fun and you're great.
Yeah.
And that's true for all of us.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, dude, I'm super excited to be here, working with you again, man.
Yeah,
and,
I'm excited too.
Dude, thank you for ending this show on a great note.
Thanks for having me, James.
Yeah.
Good to see you.